am. Sorry, I wasn't doing, the devil's, not the devil's lettuce, but the cocana. I'm not doing it. I am so amped up.
Oh, I see.
Because we have during the Papa Donkey King and my very special guest, Blue Shoes Rep Gina. Oh my God, thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'm actually not wearing any blue shoes today, but I am wearing my fabulous one-of-a-kind Ty Shine Caught on Camera Raw t-shirt. It's a one-of-a-kind, only one has been made. I went to the mall and said, can you please print this on a shirt? And the guy's like, I'm not asking any questions. I'm like, it's probably best that you don't. So, I hope you don't get a cease and desist because I'm technically wearing a licensed product here from a different company, but don't worry about it.
The GMIC of Test of Strength and TJ Howell II, they've been trying to shut me down for months. F them. Try.
Yeah.
That ain't happening because I got Gina, and she's one of the top refs right now in our area. And hey, because I'm stupid. Well, I'm not stupid. I'm not that bright. Let me turn off my notifications because there is no.
Okay, that's cool.
Wow, I took you for a ride there. I am so sorry.
Yeah, that's cool. Don't worry about it. You're showing the product that GMIC has actually made for me. He made me that shirt, and it's selling on Amazon. So it's like only Amazon. I didn't ask for it. He was just like, I just wanted to make, and that Sprite actually in the middle with the belt is his son did a whole like Test of Strength roster that you could download on Fire Pro, and he put me in it as like the rep, and I thought that was like the coolest thing ever.
Now I'm getting a little closer.
That's
you see about right there.
Yeah, it's like the actual title, which I think was photoshopped in. I don't know if you can make custom ones in it, but like the shoes are actually blue, and I was like, wow, like you could actually do that. It's really. Yep, and then also those shoes too. Yeah, he's been wanting to get me like custom shoes for some reason, but maybe down the line that could happen.
This is, and I forgot to mention at the top because I was so excited. This is part of Stirring the Pot Zebra Week because of the Zebras of Justice.
Yeah.
I am not getting into that right now because you might hang up on me. So we'll get to those guys later on.
There was one thing I wanted to say about that, though, because I thought it was kind of amusing that you're doing Zebra Week because those stripes I only wear at like less than half the promotions I work for. It seems like the custom polos are kind of like what people have been doing, mostly in the custom uniforms. So it was funny. Yeah.
Do you find either or more comfortable? Do the stripes throw you off compared to like a regular solid polo?
I mean, the thing with me is like a lot of the time I'm a much like smaller person. And every time, like, I meet people, they say, "Oh, you're a lot shorter than I thought you were." When they looked, I'm like, "All right, whatever." So, I usually like end up wearing like male sizes that are bigger for me, which it's fine. You can make it work, but it's really like as long as the shirt fits comfortably, then I'm fine with it. That TOS jersey or uniform was the first one that I've done. I went to Dick's Sporting Goods and found like a golf shirt because Ty Shine suggested I get a golf shirt for it. And then I tried it on and I walked out to look in the mirror. And then someone thought I was working at the store. So they were asking me where things were. And that was the experience that I had with that. But yeah, those stripes I've had only for about like a year and a half, but they actually endured pretty well. I've yet to get like the actual PAPW stitching on one. I've been really lazy. That's my fault because we could like give those shirts to someone to put that on there, and I should at some point. But yeah, some of them are nice. The 01 uniform is probably one of my favorites because it's very unique. I have not seen a uniform like it. Yeah. It's like black with like very, very fine pinstripes on it, and the flag right here as a patch, and like a red. I think actually the photo that you put up, that's like the thumbnail for this was like the 01 uniform, and it's quickly becoming definitely my favorite. But I can't replace my TOS one. It's like my first one. It's the best. So
now some of the letters that we refer to in the names, We have, for the fans that don't know,
Mm-hmm.
we have TOS, Test Your Strength, out of East Hartford, run by one Slick Wagner Brown.
Yeah.
We have Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling out of East Haven, Connecticut, run by Mario Mancini, Paul Roma, Paul Perez, Big Steve Tracy. Then we have 01 USA Northeast, which is run by none other than AG, Anthony Green himself. So,
Yeah.
it's an umbrella. I should say it's an umbrella underneath the 01.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So, I mean,
yes.
yeah. But man, I didn't get a chance to see that 01 or to go, but I seen footage through some of my friends the last couple shows. I've seen some of your pictures and stuff. Man, oh man, I'm missing some good ass times up at 01.
It's good stuff.
I know it's one of the newer promotions, and I would just like you to talk a little bit about 01 because I can't get there, and maybe for the fans that never even heard about it or would like to check it out, talk us about 01 USA Northeast.
Yeah, okay. So this promotion started around like the summer fall time of last year in 2019. Oh no, way before then actually. My bad, like spring summer. And there's only really been like 4 or 5 shows. They do stream on IWTV though, so if you do have a subscription to that, you can watch the shows. The latest one has not been up yet, which was Crown Zero, and that's when it was like another tournament bracket to crown the first USA 01 USA North. Oh man, I can't even say it sometimes, but it's a running joke actually because I'm like locker room detectives. Sydney Bacabella was like saying like Northeast, it's in New England. New England is in the Northeast. Yeah. So the first championship of that tournament, Bear Bronson has won it. His last the finals came down to him and Alex Reynolds.
Okay.
Really awesome match. I brought up a student from TOS with me, and he said it was like watching like a whole movie. That tournament. So lots of great competitors there. That is going to be definitely a very, very memorable time for me because we have like so many talents working at different places. The one, unfortunately, because of the virus, we had this one show that was scheduled like last month and earlier this month. I can't remember when exactly, but it was going to be like a live Wrestle Crate show in which like the Wrestle Crates, like those things that you subscribe to and they come into the mail. It was going to be taking talents from different promotions and kind of like figuring them out to like put them together to wrestle. And I think like Hey G got like so sad about like the whole thing falling apart that he posted the card on Twitter just to let people know what it was like. And, I'm saying, like, this is a great idea. Like, don't give up on it. Hopefully in the future we could try again. We're currently trying to, as well as, like, every other promotion, try to get some dates in there. But 01 is a Japanese wrestling-styled wrestling product. So all the turnbuckles are the full-fleshed turnbuckles. It's not the 3 separate ones. Yes, it's the long ones that you put into the corner. That's 20 counts to the outside, and there are time limits that are announced over whatever like loudspeaker or system there is. So yes,
10 minutes left. 10.
Yes, yeah. So we do have 10-minute like 10-minute or 5-minute warnings depending on how the matches go. And I think like anything that's a title match, they don't have a time limit, but it's cool because like when you have like those 20 counts to the outside, it makes a huge world of difference for everybody. Sometimes I get like lost because I'm so used to counting to 10, like what comes after 12. Oh yeah, it's 13. And then like
well, as a referee doing that different count, I know it's to 20, but you're not doing your traditional ref count. Am I correct on saying that?
Well, I mean, it depends on like what kind of story is like being told there, and also like how I am that day. I mean, there's some days where I don't. One things that I'm trying to like work on is like consistency with counts, and that is actually like a thing I do need to get better at. So like when you're doing like the 20 count, it's a lot, and I mean, in no means like should you go too fast because that's just kind of a little nuts. There has to be some communication between you and them. And the one thing that I'm always told is like, don't work around their schedule. They have to work around you. So a 20 count's really nice to at least like have that, especially when I was first starting out, because you have like so much time there. But the funny thing is, like, I think for a while it took some time for people to get adjusted that there's 20 counts, because people like sliding right at 9, and I'm like, yeah, until 20, but that's okay.
So okay,
Yeah.
okay. I hate to interrupt, but those little things they tickle me to death, and I love for you guys to share them with the fans. You have a 20 count. A wrestler comes in sliding in at the 9 count. You look at him, you're like, hey, ding dong, there's a 20 count. How does that all happen?
I mean, there's nothing you could really say, because I mean, ultimately it's like their match, you know. You just kind of like leave them up to them.
Okay.
I actually did end a tournament qualifier match in a double count out, and they were brawling on the outside for a long time. So it was, it was Demon Ortiz and Tyler Cintron for actually the first qualifier. Both of them got double counted out, so that by default let Alex Reynolds, because he was supposed to be the person in that next bracket, to proceed to the finals.
Yeah.
And that was like, I didn't even remember like what number I was on, even though it was like kind of, I'm like, how do you even do it with your hands? Like, because I only have, so it was definitely interesting, and it just felt weird, because it's like, who's saying 11 like anymore? But I thought it's actually like pretty cool, because it's a different environment, and you know, to even have those like really really strict time limits is a very big difference too in the matches, because things just need to be concise. Well, not concise, but not go on for like 25 minutes or so.
Yeah. To maintain that schedule from the beginning to the end. What happens is they'll usually write a card down, and it'll say how long it's supposed to be, who's kind of what's going on. So there is a time constraint in wrestling. Sometimes it looks like it's just a free for all and they go whenever, but it's very orchestrated. There is definitely a time set. Now this match can only go so long, so you guys better figure it out, kind of thing. Now, as a referee, I always ask the wrestlers, do you look back at your matches to pick little things? Maybe what can I improve on? Oh shit, I messed this up. I got to go look back. Do referees, or Ref Gina Blue Shoes, does she do that specifically?
Yeah. I was actually watching Bill's, our lovely friend Bill, who's like such an asshole. No, oh yeah, because he's gonna do that thing. He's gonna text me right now, actually, saying,
"Don't do it! Don't do it! You should know better than that. Come on!"
It's April Fool's. Don't worry about it. So I know with I actually talked to Bill one time about it, because when I was first starting out, like really starting out, he was like the person who was my mentor. And then we started working together so often that like that relationship just kind of like morphed into just like colleagues and friends too. Like, I think like honestly, out of all the people who I miss now, he's like up there, because we just like, we spend so much time together because we're always booked in a lot of like the same shows and stuff, like even like out of state and whatever, because not a lot of referees really travel. So that's kind of like why he does well, at least with networking, because he can go and spend that time to go out, and so do I. So I actually talked to him one time saying like, do you like do that? Do you watch your egos? Well, this is what I do. I give myself a couple of days, because in my head I'm going to be like berating myself for like one of those moments, like when it happens, you're like, oh, damn it, I should have like done whatever. And then you watch it back, and then he says, well, I do at least is berate myself some more. Sometimes I look back at mistakes that I have done and think like, oh, it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Slick, who's my trainer, I do train at Test of Strength. A lot of people think I'm a Paradise Alley trainee there, and it's nothing against the promotion. They're like my second home away from home. They were the second promotion I actually worked for, but I am a TOS person. So, yeah. Okay. So in any case, like Slick, especially when I first started doing practice matches, he's a Kowalski guy, and they're like, you have to call things so like, strictly. And it was on my case about make sure that, your back is not facing the hard cam. That's a huge, camera stuff is a huge thing for referees, because like if people can't see you on tape do something, then one, like they're missing a moment because like even the ref could like really like sell something like a move or whatever. And that's something that I've also been working on recently, but also like they can't really like see or hear me too much. So that was a big one. He would also be courteous to whenever we do the training day shows, which at TOS is kind of like our student shows that we put on at the dojo. Slick will watch the matches and give us feedback on what's going on. So it is a very good continuous effort and just improving yourself and that like involvement and growth. So there's that. There's times where I watch the matches back and then like I see something. I have a journal that like I write down all my stuff with. And I record all my matches on there too. I haven't really been keeping up with it like so much lately because a lot of things have been happening and I'm like, oh, I forgot my journal or whatever. But and then like Chris Levin is a very good mentor of mine currently. He got me into Shikara. He got me onto 01. Although AG also have extended the invitation to me formally. And he's a very interesting person to talk to because he has experience like working for Impact. He doesn't work for the company anymore, but he's on MLW, Major League Wrestling. So he will talk to me about like TV stuff, which is interesting. And if there's ever like a time where I'm like, especially with tag matches, like those could get like so messed up. I was watching like a tag match today and I'm like, what the hell is going on? There's times where I just message him and say, what would you do if you were in this situation? Or I'll send him like a match that's like on video and tell him to go to this thing and critique it. Anthony Green was also actually talked to him today about like some advice too, because, he was the person who started off as a ref and took that role incredibly seriously. And that was when I was like really starting to watch a lot of indie wrestling. And to watch him kind of progress, like from being a referee to where he is now. Well, he was doing like the all good gimmick for like a while, and now he's like, the retrosexual. And now I get to work with him as like a protege of like, someone who's coming up as a ref and him being a promoter. It's a really interesting experience, like how full circle like that. Well, not full circle, but how that kind of like encompassed around in some way. So he's also a good person to reach out to as well.
Well, you almost kind of want to say a little bit of full circle because, hey, I've seen some martial arts stuff that Ref Gina does. She will kick your...
No, hey, don't worry about it. It's cool. No, we can talk about it if you'd like to, because a lot of people ask me questions about that. I don't know why, but okay, whatever. It's fine.
Well, it's part of the whole package of being in wrestling, because it's not just one thing that makes a referee or a wrestler or a manager. There's many things on these interviews that I talk about that it takes a package of many things, including a support group. It's not just what you're wearing. It's not just how you're acting in the ring. It's not how you're performing. It's not what spots you're supposed to remember. You still have to have like some kind of a support group in wrestling. And I know you got that. That is for certain. And I'm going to dive to something, just a little quick snippet on that. Lone Survivor 2. I'm doing my little Kincaid thing. I go walking over to the other room. I come walking by and I hear, hey, is that a blue shoe shirt? And I turn around and there was an older gentleman. I go, yes, it is. Ref, blue shoes, like that. And he goes, that's my daughter. I don't even have a shirt. I go,
okay.
Let me tell you something, sir. I sat right next to him and I go, if you go to Amazon.com right now, you can get an exclusive blue shoe shirt.
Oh, man, yeah, he's been like getting on me to like order this, but I tell him those shirts actually do come in like several colors. Like I was gonna actually wear my tank top because you could get them as a tank top, you get in a shirt, but they come in like different colors. And I'm like, I don't know which one you want to get. Yeah, my dad, he's cool. He really believes in Tessa's strength so much, and even during the days where he's not at the shows, just because he's actually a chef, so he works on weekends.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, so he keeps up with the product with matches that have been posted. Like he watches your videos, he watches stuff that's posted on Tessa Strength with promos and things like that. And, you know, when we're driving somewhere, hanging out, he'll like ask me questions to sort of like get, so he's like caught up to speed with the story.
Okay.
And the first time when he actually came to a training day, I'm not going to like really expose it too much because, you know, I do feel like I have to kayfabe a couple of things, but he was really excited to meet like some of the locker room. And when we were like going home, he was very interested to know like where these people were from, where they were training, what they do for work. If I even know like what they do for work, because there's some people who just go all in and this is what they do. So, you know, I explained that to him and he goes like, so they just basically like sacrifice something to get to do these things because it's fun for them. And well, not fun, well, not always fun, but like it's like a sort of motivational factor for them to come here and do like these shows and learn to get better. And I said, yeah. And he goes, that's so cool. So he really understands it in a different way. And he was also the person who got me into wrestling. I didn't really start watching wrestling until I was like in high school. And even then I didn't really keep up with like, WWE stuff. Like I was watching, TNA, you know, when that was like TNA, not Impact, and when that came back. So, I watched like that stuff for a while. Then I started going to indie shows a little bit more. And I like the indie shows better because I felt like I was able to get to know the people better. Some of them interacted with fans well. Then when I started watching Shakara, it definitely was a different situation for me because it's such a very different product over there. It's completely family friendly, inclusive. It has like characters, you know, like actual characters, like not even just like lucha people, but think people like Lucas Calhoun, Don Rama, who like have like these interesting like things about their characters and aspects of them. And the way that like things are run there, especially working there now, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more, is like such a very interesting, like legit like business. I really appreciate the type of environment that they have there, but to like watch it when I was like a fan and seeing what that product was so different, but very appealing at the same time.
It is, because for those that aren't familiar with Chikara, Chikara's been around for a long time. It's run by Mike
Quackenbush. Mike Quackenbush, yep.
And like Ref Gina was saying, it's very, and I have to stress, it's very, very family friendly. If Kincaid dropped a measly shit or you know anything like that, the fans, they'll get on you. Yeah. We don't stare around here. There's a very different vibe there, and as Ref Gina described, the characters, they make like these. It's almost like you could open a comic book to each one of these characters and see that whole thing kind of play out. It's very, and I hate to use the word gimmick, but I have to because it's wrestling. It's very gimmicky driven, very character orientated. And there's I mean, when I say backstories, I mean, a full blown book of backstories for each character. So that kind of wrestling really drew you in as a fan?
I think it did because I think when it comes to me, I really like to look at details. And now that I'm like on a different level of working with Mike Quackenbush, he is as detail oriented as you can get, like as humanly possible. The way that he runs his product is so much story driven that like the way, like when he talks to people and coaches them through how matches should go and like what kind of like booking and like story that he wants to do, he tells them like what the motivation is for like each character. And now we have characters who are coming back. Like Mobius is one who I think is a great talent, and this is like a character who has returned after like a long hiatus of being away. And to just see, even like with now that the Action Arcade episodes are coming out on Saturdays now, I think we have like 8 weeks worth of footage and we've been like working really hard. I haven't really been there as long as the other referees like Chris Levin and Chris Bancos has, who are on the current roster now. Like going into like do these is like, it takes a lot of work for these people. And I was actually watching Mark Adam Haggerty's interview with you, and he was telling you about the situation with King of Trios, where like this huge fan is like, we don't swear here, or something. And I'm like, that's so cool. Like, and as long as things go well, and depending on how scheduling is going to be for the remainder of this year with wrestling, what's happening, I'm actually going to be at King of Trios this year. That's going to be like a huge deal. When I was even in the Lions Cup, which was in January, and it was like snowing oh man, I was so nervous about getting home like that day. I was like, you always hear like these road stories about people who like risk it all and go out there in their car and like drive through like a blizzard that like puts out like 6 feet of snow, and no one has died yet, at least like doing that. So like that happened to me where it was like just ice, and I was like freaking out about it. But anyways, like even doing like the Young Lions Cup was a huge deal for me because like I liked Shakara so much, not probably as much as Ref Bill, because he's a guy who does like read comics, and I totally agree that Shakara does have like that vibe, and that's probably what makes it so relatable to him as like a good entertainment product. And like doing like I went to a live show. There's a friend of mine named Patrick who lives like pretty close by, and he's a huge Shakara fan. He even has like the 3 coins, and if you like collect those coins, you that gets you like a title shot. He collects all of like the event posters are usually drawn out in a comic book style. He goes to these events. He's been to like every single King of Trios tournament, except the ones, of course, like overseas, like in England. And he gets like the whole roster to sign it. Like there's a lot of like Heidi Lovelace stuff that's still around, before she got signed to WWE, and Claudio. So, and we went to like these awesome like live events, and it was so much fun. And I got like this free pen, and, I was like looking at my pen the day before I was going to go out for like the Young Lions Cup thing. I'm like, man, this is so cool. Like, I feel like I'm actually like part of the roster now, because before then I did this other show in which we were like filming things for Action Arcade, and I wasn't sure if they were going to keep me on, but then Quackenbush said, yeah, keep the uniform, you can come back. Like, sweet. Bryce also apparently gave me the okay to be in the roster as well. I think Chris had to talk to him about that, and I was like sitting there looking at this pen thinking like, this is great, and Chris is like, oh, you excited? And I'm like, yeah. So I get there and I bring my pen with me. I'm like, Chris, like, this is going to be like the greatest thing ever. I'm like, look at this pen. I saved this from 5 years ago. He goes, oh, I can get you a new one if you want. Like, we have a whole bunch of them now. And I'm like, you can't even, like, could you just give me like 2 seconds to like be, in this moment? And I'm like, the guy's like such a jerk sometimes. Working with him at Shakara is great. And it's fun there too, because I get to like interact, like you're encouraged to interact with the crowd there and make it like fun and whatever. Blitzkrieg over at the Moose Lodge especially is another place where like Jeremy Leary like says, he encourages me, he's like, interact with the crowd here, because this is the type of place where you can do this and just have fun with it. Like, you don't have to like do like a serious like match like at some places. Like, if there's like a thing, like, Bill's really good at ad-libbing in there, and he'll say something. Miguel will like probably do like some face or whatever, and like just make the audience laugh, and those are really good places to get involved in that way. So it is different from place to place.
Well, I mean, I probably should have gotten a little bit more referee information out of Ref Bill, and you are giving us the fans some amazing stories and such. I was drinking moonshine, all sorts of tanked, and I didn't give a shit.
Yeah, I saw that. Yep, I was wondering if you're going to do that, and I was like, well, I don't have any alcohol here, but I could have like at least joined you in some way.
No.
That's cool, yeah.
Kincaid's not a drinker, and I was kind of tanked for SOG, and then I got even more tanked for Ref Bill, and it was a blast. But I don't know how much I can't remember it all.
Well, I was just watching it, and here's my hot take on Bill.
Oh, yeah.
Bill has become sassier by the year. And I think like it's just like so obnoxious, because like he'll text me like all this stuff like, hey, do you miss me? Because you haven't seen me in a while. I'm like, absolutely not. And then he'll say like, and then he'll give me like that Elmo on Fire gift for some reason. And I don't even know like how that started, but like, it's very annoying because I'll like sincerely like go up to him and say in a chat, hey, like, what's the deal with, like, when should I be there for ring crew and stuff? And he'll just spam that, like, GIF like 15 times, and I'm like scrolling through. There's no information. So I actually have to call him. And then he'll answer it saying, leave me alone, I'm busy, and just, like, hang up on me or whatever. And I'm like, what? You can't, like, he's so completely different than, like, how he used to be. I think him and those rides with House of Pain have been getting to his head, but he is a hard worker. He really is. Like, the ring at, like, PAPW is, like, it is a big deal to, like, get that stuff ready, because, like, they have a nice area for those Friday Night Alley Fight shows at their school, and he's there, like, usually early to get things ready. Like, he even rigged up, like, some entrance stuff for Friday Night Alley Fights, and lately it's been, like, him and I on those shows. Sometimes it's just him, and then we give, like, other opportunities for reps who are newer to come in and, like, get their reps in there. But he takes care of, like, all the ring crew stuff, like, really well. He even knows how, like, to do the ropes too. But then, like, Nick Payne will complain about it, then take the wrench away from him, and then do the ropes. But, like, to do the ropes is a big deal for a ref, because, like, I train just to, like, do basics and stuff at Test of Strength, and we could talk about that too. But for Bill, like, the way that I kind of see it at Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling is that they do train basics, but they really also, like, drill, like, the ref stuff with them so they don't get stale. And I respect that, because there's particular days where I go to the dojo where I do that, and then there's particular days where I go there where I want to, like, learn some basics or get better at, like, certain things. And, like, I don't really know, like, how tight the rope should be, because I don't do, like, all this wrestling stuff like everybody else does. And for a ref to know how to do that, I think is a big deal, because it takes a lot of, like, knowing, like, are these too tight? Like, are these too loose? Do we have to, like, tape them up more? Like, we're not really worried about that as much as, like, the wrestlers do, because they use them. So for him to do that, I have to say kudos.
Yeah, absolutely. Two things that you just touched upon. One, hell of a worker ref Bill is when it comes to the events. Like you said, setting up, helping take down, doing his job, the production stuff. The guy drives all over the place.
He does, yeah.
Like, really hard worker. Second point, I don't know what the hell happened to him myself. He used to, I would stand up and we would hug. Now he starts hitting me with kendo sticks, a chair a couple times, kicks me constantly on my shin. I have this weird ref Bill thing, kind of notch thing in my shin. It's been a total 180. I don't know what the hell's going on with him. Does he take medication on the reg? And if he does, is he taking it? Are you two that close?
So I think I got an answer for this, which could segue into another segment. So, yeah, you don't want that to fall down. Oh, that's a Dave Cole picture back there?
Yeah.
Cool,
Ultimate Warrior Pac-Man, baby.
Yeah. We could talk about Dave Cole too, because he was a close friend for a bit when he was here. I was actually watching an interview that he did with Mr. Denver, Colorado, the person at the place, for the Beyond ones that they've been doing, and he really does, like, put a lot of interesting perspective into his role in wrestling being so unique. Yeah, anyways, going back to this other question, the reason why Bill is like this is because I feel like in the wrestling environment, like, once people get to know you well and they get comfortable with you, then they start to rib you and be mean to you. Like, Sammy used to be so nice to me,
dude.
What happened? Like, I just don't. Oh my god. Like, it hurts me sometimes, like, when I see him and he's saying, like, you suck or whatever, and I give him the stare, and I'm like, how did this happen? Like, how did we go from, like, being, like, pretty decent friends to you just being a complete dick now? Like, I don't know how that happened. But, like, that's just, how it is, because, like, but it's cool, though, because, like, if you have a good sense of humor and you can go with it, that's great. If not, that's okay, too, because there's all kinds of people in wrestling with different personalities. Like, I can't really think of any other place where, like, a big thing that my dad loves about Test of Strength is just, like, how diverse our roster is. There's, like, me, there's a really great majority, well, not majority, but like a lot of like black talent who are on there, and you have these matches that are intergender, like our first like intergender title match. But we don't even care if that's intergender. We're just like, it's just a title match. I even went up to Slick one time, because like 2 or 3 years ago when the school started, and if you don't know the story about how the school started, I do, and it's actually quite a story. They weren't like worried about titles and like renting out the Deuce for shows, and it happened. And I think it's so cool that my debut match was actually at my home promotion's like first Saturday show that's like outside of the dojo stuff, and that was really cool. I think that was actually Jabroni's first win in the history of the company as well, and it was like a lot of it was a lot of big stuff that was like happening for me. But like, going back to like the diversity of the roster, like we have all kinds of like different people who we give like a chance to, and my dad really likes that because you look out and see. Now, I'm not like one person who really fully is there for like the representation side of things, but I understand for some people that's very important, and I respect that. But like he likes how like we have like a racially diverse roster of people. He likes how we do like these matches where we don't care like who gender doesn't like, it doesn't matter. And when I was talking to Slick about like, hey, are we ever going to have like a women's championship? He goes, we don't really do that here. Right. I said, oh, that's cool. And I don't know like why that was like such a surprise to me, because a lot of places are like that. But I think for that to be at home base, it kind of cemented that I definitely am in the right place, because it's like the values that I have. Have it reflected is good.
Yeah, absolutely. And anybody ever talked to on these interviews, maybe when I started them regular or these Skype ones, I've never once ever heard a bad word about Slick Wagner Brown or his professionalism or his knowledge or what he passes on to the students and how the mindset he tries to give you, all you guys and girls. So, I mean, for Ref Gina to come out of Touch the Strength and seeing you starting, it's been a privilege and an honor for me personally. And
I actually remember you were surprised that I even came out like in ref uniform to break up a fight. And that was, I was like, oh, cool, but I got to focus on this next. And we'll move on.
I kind of popped for Ref Gina because I would see Ref Gina at some of the PAPW shows. We'd cordially say hi, talk a quick little snippet, and then we'd move on and do our thing. And then all of a sudden, she's at Test of Strength. She's a referee. She's breaking shit up. And I was like, what the hell?
Yeah. I was pretty silent about that because at the time I wasn't entirely sure what role I was going to get into. Mm-hmm. But before that, I just wanted to touch upon the thing you said about Slick. So a lot of the times, like when I talk to people, even people who I don't know well, like they'll say like, where'd you come from? Like Test of Strength. And for the most part, like everybody knows who runs it. They know him because he's been around. And for Ty Shine especially, like he had such a very big influence on Ty because Ty was a very big like indie wrestling fan in the area. Excuse me. So he kept like bugging him saying like, hey, could you train me? So it's like, no. Could you train me? No. Could you train me? Okay. And that's how the school started, just because like Ty was being annoying as hell and just like saying, I want you to train me. But like those small things too, like, Ty basically got like part of his dream, like he was able to be trained by someone who he really looked up to as a fan. And he also motivated him to open the school. And then that started to grow. Sorry, I get like really phlegmy because it's like seasonal crap over here.
Hey, that's okay. I know we got shit going on, but I'm not scared, even if it is Skype. I'm good. Don't
okay. No, it's cool. But yeah, that's basically like how the school started, and the growth from there, I can't tell you because I don't really know about like the first training days and so forth. But the school like wasn't, of course, in like a different place than it is now, and I think that they never actually used to train in the winter there because where they had was like no isolation, like no insulation rather, so like they couldn't train in the winter. So like a lot of this started because of Ty, and I think that we do have to be thankful to him. but then he DDT'd a child, so like now I'm confused. Like I don't know like what I should do about the, you know.
What?
I know that was crazy.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
My mind is still bent over Lone Survivor 2. That being one of them. We're going to get right back to Lone Survivor 2.
of course
I
we
would
are.
like for you to Elmo emojis. Is that what's going on over there?
No, I just have my control thing.
I thought Bill was up here.
No, Bill. Cool. See, watch this. All right, cool. We don't have to worry about that. It's fine.
Take that, Ref Bill. So you talk about all of these different organizations, promotions that you get to be part of. Two-part question. Do you reach out to most of these, or do they reach out to you? Is it kind of a back and forth between the both of you? And as a referee, because the styles that you've already described to the fans, do you have to referee different? Do you go in with the same mindset? I do my thing, and this is what I do. Two-part question.
It's very that's a good one because this is going to be like part of that peeling the back like of the curtain that you have been doing on the show. So for the most part, when I was first starting out, and I'm still like first starting out because I'm only really like a year and a half in, I would like talk to people on my home roster and see if there's a way for me to like go to shows with them into promotions that I don't, know so well, so I could try to get on the show or just at least be a part of it and like do ring crew and so forth. Like doing the paying the dues thing of like doing ring crew is definitely a big part of it. I was a ring crew person for PAPW for a while before I started refereeing because Mario Mancini gave me like a free ticket to a show once and I felt weird taking that from him. So I'm like, could I like come in and like help you out in some way or whatever? And he said no, and I'm like, well, screw him, I'm just going to do it anyways, and showed up. And Paul Roma has been appreciative about that. So I just like started doing ring crew stuff with them. It also gave me some time to sort of think about like, well, wrestling's cool and I want to be like a role in this somewhere. So I was thinking I was going to be like a backstage person, like sewing people's gear. Like that's a big thing that I do now is like I bring my sewing stuff with me and I like fix people's gear whenever I'm like at locker rooms. So like I would try to bring those skills with me to shows and see if like people could find some value. But people like pretty much booked me pretty quickly out of the gate. And I think a lot of that comes from, like being biologically a female, like people want to put like something different on the roster. And I'm kind of like about it now because I don't really think it matters. But for them, I can understand how that is like a big part of like how they improve their product is to have more diversity with their roster. So I get it, it's a thing, but.
And how many female referees do you actually know in our area?
In our area, not many. I mean, Aubrey does ref. She was at the American Coliseum recently, but she also like goes in between being different roles of like a valet or manager too, and sometimes she wrestles as well. So I don't know if like you could call her like a career ref because she has like so many different roles and positions.
Yeah.
Not many. I mean, there could be, some around. Another thing too is like a lot of students start off being like referees and they get booked at other promotions, but then, they move on to like become a wrestler. So it's like to find even career reps. Now it's probably moving towards that direction, but before, like, I don't think it was as common.
So you've never been interested about being in the ring as a wrestler? You've kind of found your ground as a referee. Does Ref Gina continue being blue shoes, or does she become some kind of crazy, enraged wrestling character that you never expect?
So when I first started training at Test of Strength, a lot of people have told me wrestle because like they think my martial arts experience would come over a lot, and surprisingly it doesn't really, because you're doing like bumps very, very differently than how you take falls and break falls and like judo, which I've done for a long time. A lot of people don't know that, but that's just because like I don't post videos about it, like I do with Kung Fu. And like, you know, Kung Fu is also like a very, like there's a showmanship about it that does like work. And sometimes if I experiment around with like moves or whatever, like but then like Bobby Ocean or, you know, Slick, both of them train me equally. They'll say like, you know, and then they kind of like give their perspective. So at times, like, you know, I do think that sometimes a martial arts experience does transfer, but in ways that's like not really expected. In any case, so he thought that because of that, I would probably be a good trainee. And I was like, like humming and hawing about it. And, you know, like someone who I know in wrestling motivated me to like take the class because he invited me for free class. So I did the class. I did like all the shit. And I said, I hate this. I'm never doing this again. And just told him like flat out, like, I don't think this is for me, but I still want to be a part of like TOS somehow. And he goes like, all right, so. And he, like, you know, he took that seriously. Like, you know, even at like those training day shows, he says, can you do a job where like you get people ready for their match, like when they're going to be on deck for the next one and stuff. And, you know, spending that time backstage with them to see like how different that environment was, like did put things in perspective. So Ty just said like, oh, like you could be my valet if you want to. And that's originally what I was going to train for, was the basics to be his valet. Then he broke his ass because he gave Sammy a backbreaker and like his hip kind of like came out a little bit. So his glute, I don't know what happened to it, but he was gone for like 2 months or something. So that kind of like went out the window. And Slick goes like, well, I guess you're going to ref these practice matches now. And they're like all horrible. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I was counting ass instead of shoulders. But like I took it seriously because I started to see that like I really like semantics and details, which is like so boring. But like if you are into that, being a rep is a good fit for you because you do have to pay attention to those things. You know, it's an easy job, but it's a hard job at the same time because like there's so many small working parts to it. But it's easy because, you know, in the grand scheme of it, you're not the person in there having to remember like all these spots or like, you know, how to even like do things correctly. But yeah, that just kind of took off. Like I wore my blue shoes to class one time, and then Slick goes, "Hey, you should wear those shoes for your debut because they pop." And now like people really like them. So some places I wear them, some places I don't.
Hey,
But yeah, I mean, but to go back to your question because I don't want to ignore it.
yeah, please.
Sometimes people do reach out to. At the time, like some people reach out to me, but mostly it's. Me kind of like having a conversation with someone at a show. Like sometimes promoters do come to like different shows. Randy from Limitless, he was coming to the 0-1 shows, and I think he started seeing me in there. So he reached out to me and just like kind of wanted to coordinate. So I made my debut there in February, and that was a crazy weekend because I made my debut there. I stayed over somewhere, and then the next day I was at Beyond. And Beyond, like it was like, you know, that one I think you know, DC just kind of reached out to me because I just call him that. I hope he doesn't mind. And I think like an old friend of mine, like Nicholas K, just like probably put a word in his ear that I was like, you know, training to ref, and he thought that I was like pretty good. And Nicholas K, you know, he's one of like the Beyond originals, so he doesn't wrestle so much anymore. But, you know, I've known him for a while, and to be a part of that product on like the Please Come Back show was crazy. I like, you know, like when I went to the venue and I walked in there, it's kind of like looking around, you know, like, oh, you know, they could fit like whatever. But like when I actually walked to the ring and I had to like, there was no entrance ramp. You have to like go through the crowd to get to the ring and just step in there, and to look around and see like the huge sea of people was so crazy. But yeah, I'd say that for now, it's a lot of like both of like me reaching out to people and people reaching out to me and try to like coordinate something. But before I was really interested in getting on a lot of promotions. Now I feel like I have established a lot of connections with people, and I rather like kind of minimize it to the promotions that I like to be a regular at, more so. But you know, every now and then like some new ones will pop up, like On Point Wrestling. I'll be there. Well, we'll even know if things will be up by then, as scheduled for May, like the beginning of May. We'll see if it even happens. And that's like a hardcore show in New Jersey. And Chris Levin gave me that booking because he normally goes in, like he's a regular on those shows, but he had like something else planned that day. So that happens too. Like, Kevin Quinn actually, for the Please Come Back show for Beyond, he suggested that I take his place because he had NEW that day. And, sometimes that happens where like refs do say like, hey, I can't be there, but, could you do it so I could just like recommend you to somebody? And Shikara, I got on there because I did a Bryce Remsburg seminar with Bill. We did like these incubator matches, which is kind of like practice matches that are inside of the school. And Bryce asked me to do a few. I did them. He didn't really have much to say to me. We worked like one show together, which was a Blitzkrieg and Big Time Wrestling combined show. I did that match with Holiday and Swagger, two of like the biggest people you could ever get. I know it's like embarrassing because like the way I was trying to like raise Swagger's hand, it made me look like a child like right next to him. He also called me Mindy for some reason. I don't understand like how he got that, but like it. That was a big show too, and Bryce was working with me on it. Didn't really get a lot of chances to interact with him much, but I think like he probably watched me a bit. And then Chris Levin asked if I was interested in Shikara. I told him at the time I had a job where I wasn't able to commit to it, but then I got a new job and I was able to. And then I think he had to talk to Bryce in some way to see if he could if he was okay with having me on the roster. And he remembered me, so that's how I got in.
Now going from a training day, very intimate, small room, home base. The crowd owes you some blue shoes. Now you go to Beyond, could be a couple thousand people. I've been to a couple of those. Their big shows.
Yeah.
Man. And the crowd is also like very hot crowd all the time at Beyond.
Yes.
It's a different environment. And for you that don't know, 2 or 3 of the sides of the ring are usually just jam packed with the crowd right up to the ring side, and they leave one side open for the wrestlers to come walking down.
Not at that show, actually. They had all 4 sides that filled up, but the other side was actually the stage, but that was also filled up with people. But you're right. Like I think at Uncharted Territory, it's kind of like that. But I have yet to actually be at one of those shows. But I do like watch their products, and I was a fan like back when they used to have them at the Fet Music Hall, like during those days. And the crowd was like mad different. Like I thought like when I was gonna get to Beyond, like I was gonna get roasted to like a crisp, because the fans that I remember going to those Fet Day shows, like the "You effed up" chants and like everything, like they really like. Were critical. They were a great crowd, but they were like really smart fans, But when I went in there, because now like the home base is Worcester, and we were at Foxborough, which was like across from the Patriots Stadium. God, man, if there's anything about like New England people, they love the Patriots so much. I saw like a line of dudes just standing in the parking lot, kind of like standing there, like looking at the stadium, like silently, I'm like standing behind them, watching them do this, and it's like, but it is a big deal because like we were at Patriots Place, and it was actually really cool to see, the stadium. Yeah. Too bad they didn't proceed into the Super Bowl that year, but whatever. Doesn't matter now because certain someone has went to Florida. I just wanted to say that because if Slick watches this, he'll get really mad at me because he loves Tom Brady so much. Oh man. Anyway, so. I thought like, but the crowd at Beyond at that, like when I walked in there, they were like cheering for me, which was so weird because I didn't really think that was going to happen. But the really nice, and unfortunately this didn't come out on film. Rich Palladino announced me from the Tested Strength training facility, and I thought that was like really awesome because like Slick, he wants us to, and Bobby too, like. They want us all to succeed so well, and I think a part of that is being a representative of Tested Strength. So, like, from going like to those training days where, I take those matches seriously, no matter where it is, but to like represent that to like the next level of because Beyond is like arguably like the best indie promotion in the States. America Rana is like. Man, the way that has like exploded into, and to be like at Foxwoods and everything, that was.
Yeah, that last one was insane. I was there.
Yeah, I watched it, and it was.
Dude, it was like 5.5 hours. It was WrestleMania at Foxwoods. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was really cool. And even for like PEPW to get to Mohegan those two times, that was really fun too. I really wished I was active when those were starting, because that would have been a great, because those were really packed crowds too. But no matter what, like I still prioritize my home promotion as best as possible. I think that because Slick ultimately gave me the shot to do it. Like a lot of people told me, hey, you should train, but no one actually extended to me an offer to train me. And at the time, like there wasn't really like a lot of places in Connecticut anyway. So, and I wasn't sure if like wrestling was the best thing for me, because, I still compete in like Kung Fu. I do the best I can to like, do like all this stuff. I play volleyball sometimes, and I don't want to like get hurt, like, in wrestling, and that like, unfortunately for some people, like you're done, after that happens, or things are never like the same. And I want to like have a good longevity. I think that's kind of why like a lot of indie guys become reps at like WWE, because you're like, I'm gonna take a bump. This is awesome. You do have to, even throughout like that whole progression of like what we're doing at Test of Strength and seeing that grow too. Like I want that to be successful as well as a promotion and as a school.
Absolutely, because
I actually saved like all the tickets. That Test of Strength.
Really?
Yeah, because the graphics on there especially are really cool. So Test of Strength has been like printing custom tickets with graphics. And whenever like I'm on a show that has that, I try to get a copy so I could like put in my journal, because I think it's like really neat. And I also save the programs too. I have like a whole stack of programs. But like other promotions I also wanted to mention that like I work for is like Wrestle Party, that's out in Providence, Rhode Island. A lot of TOS guys have been starting to work there. Yeah, it's fun. It's like it's a fun, all-inclusive place. Sully, who runs it, like he says like at the beginning of every show, don't say anything racist, transphobic, ableist, whatever. And he's like, this is a place where I want everyone to feel safe. He even like is very accommodating to people who are handicapped or like need like places to sit. Like he wants like it for everyone to enjoy it, every person. And it's a very fun environment there, and I get to work like a lot with a lot of like XWA, Chop Shop, like Rhode Island guys. The roster rather, and it's fun to work there. I really enjoy it. Blitzkrieg, I mentioned, I touched upon that. That's also a really fun promotion to work for. We did a big show recently. I had a match with D'Lo Brown and Hermit Crab. Never thought that I would ever say that in my life, because that's like such a funny like matchup, like Hermit Crab from Shikara, D'Lo Brown. Okay, well that's cool, because D'Lo Brown was my favorite, so it was kind of neat to like work with him. And that venue that they have in Enfield at the banquet hall is like so nice. Like
it's so cool.
You could do whatever you want there, because there's like no ceiling. It's like so high up there and stuff. And I used to go to those shows a lot, so to like be on the other side of that's really fun. I'm really like hoping that by May like things go well, but I understand if it does not, because this is all like preventative stuff for everyone to stay healthy. But the Limitless versus Blitzkrieg shows, the first one, we only did one actually, and it was I was there as a fan. I thought it was like the greatest thing ever, and now I'm like, oh, I get to be a part of this. But I know it will happen at some point. I know that it will have to deal with scheduling and so forth, but and then I have like King of Trios to look forward to. I'm not going to reveal it. Like I will be at Beyond again, but unfortunately, because the scheduling is kind of like nothing's been announced for what I'm going to be doing there. I'm going to just kind of like leave that open, because we also don't know. We don't know like what's going on with the schedules. So that's going to be exciting to go back there. Limitless, I'm going to try my best to get there too. I wanted to mention Wrestle Party, because like that was a place that I always have a lot of fun. I feel bad because like I can't go there as often, because it's like on Chikara dates sometimes, and I'm trying to prioritize them. So those Action Arcade Chikara episodes will be going on for like a series of Saturdays, so you can watch those on IWTV. And 012, that's we talked about that at length though. So the funny thing there's a couple of things I wanted to kind of like take over control. One, because I know you have TJ Crawford going to be coming on the show soon. And you're very excited because he's the best.
because of you.
It's because of you, Don. Really. So TJ is really cool. He's another person who I'm getting closer with in wrestling. We did a lot of really fun matches. We did a great 6-way scramble at the November show for 01. That was awesome, and it had like a great, awesome like finish to that whole thing. Casanova was up, and it's cool to work with him too. I got to work with him and Channing Thomas at Fenway. That was exciting. Anyway, so he wants to talk about this very funny story, and he's going to talk about it too from his perspective.
Okay.
This is a PPW story. So this was when Ty Shine was Friday Night Alley Fights champion.
Okay.
And TJ was his opponent. I look at the card, and I'm like, okay, Ty's going to be up. I go over to them like, okay, so what are we doing here? He goes, oh, it's going to be a backstabber. And I thought like, oh, like that's different. I don't think I've ever seen Ty give a backstabber before. That's weird. So we come out and do the match. TJ hits the backstabber on Ty. The cover's happening, and I'm like, is this a finish? Okay. So, I ring the bell, and everyone was kind of like, what the hell happened? Because it was like the first match, of the whole card. And then Atticus Monroe at the time when he was managing thought it was like a title match, and he announced TJ as like the new champion. I'm like, he's not the new champion. Yeah. So we go to the back, and then Miguel comes up to me and goes like, what happened? What happened? I'm like, I don't know. He just didn't kick out. He goes, okay, you did your job. I'll talk to Roma for you. So I go up to them, and then they're like all high-fiving and stuff in the back, and I'm like, Ty was supposed to be up on the match. What happened? They're like, oh, we thought it was supposed to be TJ. So I guess the card got rewritten, and it was TJ and Ty. And because their names are so similar that they didn't really know like who it was, or they thought it was TJ. And that's a story. He's going to talk about that perspective too. He wanted me to talk about that. And the second story is my Beyond story. Not really a story, but like a snippet. So talk about like polos. So at Beyond, they would prefer you to wear the IWTV polos. And I was working with Kevin Quinn the night before at Limitless. That was a fun show. I got to do JD Drake and Brian Pillman. That's up on IWTV. And I also got to work with Ashley Vox, who's, for some reason, a lot of people think that we're related, or I'm also her. Simon Grimm came up to me once. He goes, oh, Ashley. I'm like, oh, you're not Ashley. I'm like, no. I'm not Ashley. We did a match with Perry Von Vicious over at Wrestle Party where we actually switched uniforms like mid-match.
Oh, you did?
She threw me, yeah, because I took a big boot, came down, we switched uniforms, so she goes like, yeah, let's wrestle. And she put like a pride headband around me, and then like the uniform, and then like, Perry like came up and he was like, you're not Ashley. And then like, it was really funny because we've been meaning to do that for a while. That was the first match. But I did her match against Tasha Steelz, which was really good. That was a good match. I like working with Tasha because although she like is really, like so heely, she listens to me. Like, she knows when to come off or whatever, which is really weird because like a lot of times I have to actually like push people off at times, like if they're in a corner for too long, but she listens, which is nice. I'm like, oh, okay. But in any case, so I saw Kevin and he gave me the uniform. I didn't realize that they had, the DC had like the uniforms for me. And it was like the biggest shirt ever because it's just a normal t-shirt and it's like sliding off my shoulder and stuff and like my sports bra strap is showing. And like watching the show back and the whole time I'm like distracted by this. I'm like, I look like a slob and this is horrible. And, I even like went up to DC and said like, I am so sorry for how I dressed that day because like that looked like really sloppy. And he goes like, I thought it was fine, but okay. But I was so excited about it because I'm like, wow, they get to wear an IWTV t-shirt, like I'm going to be on IWTV. It's so cool. And Anthony Green comes up and he goes like, you've been on IWTV for a while. Like all of our USA, Northeast shows have been up on there. Like, don't you like watch the products? Like you're actually on like, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. But yeah, it was cool. That was like, I think that was, yeah. But so it's neat to actually say that like you could watch me on IWTV.
Isn't
us like YouTube and stuff. Like, it's neat.
Isn't that so amazing? And you're short. And I gotta stress, a year and a half in the business, you have named the some of the most major, and beyond being one of them, Limitless and Zero and such, and go on. The
Chicago,
most,
you know, that's a big deal for me.
it's got to be so effing cool for you to be part of all of these really cool names that come in and out of our business that are going to be on TV much sooner than later. But you also get that flip side of the spectrum to where you're in places like Tests of Strength where they're bringing up their students, but they also bring in names at the same time. And there's a different vibe and a different collection of men and women there. So, man, you are getting so much experience so quickly. And, man, your career is just going on, and it's just going so quick. Are you handling all of this all right? Because sometimes it's hard to,
No, you're right. So that's when I started to think about scaling back from like taking bookings from every place. Like the only, and Battlefront Pro Extreme is another one that I'm also on. Although we only had like the one show, but it was fun. I actually like really digged it because they played like music and stuff too, and it was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, it's different. And it's just like kind of interesting to me because I like to work at like these promotions because you know, I need to get like more consistent with my bookings and like being there as like a regular ref. Like Showcase Pro that's out in Rhode Island, I actually got that booking because Don Vega and I did like tryout matches on SmackDown when we were like extras or something. And you know, he's another like guy who I really like want to show him appreciation for because you know, he did that tryout match like on the fly with Channing Thomas, which was like so amazing to me. And it was actually like really fun to do. And to do it like in a WWE ring was really, really cool. It was awesome because it's like an ocean in there. Like, you can just stand off to the side and like no one's running into him. Like, this is great. So yeah, but like, you know, I wanted to, you know, give him more like of my time for, you know, these bookings for Showcase because I think like, I know I don't want to say that like I'm a good ref, but only because like other people have told me that I am. And I guess like with my 10 years so far, it kind of just proves, because, you know, Slick tells me, he goes like, I just want you to know that you are a coachable person because there's times where I don't feel like I am, or I don't say that I am. He goes, well, you know, like, look how far you got and so forth. But he humble too by saying like, you still have to, no matter where it is, you still have, and, you know, and I do take that very seriously. I try to do the best for Test of Strength too. But like, I think to have experienced referees go different places is also really important as well because you can be working on rosters with, you know, like at Kevin Landry's school, I did like one show there. Not sure if I'll go back. It's just kind of like whenever it works out with my schedule, I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, you know, I want to take those seriously too because like it's good reps for me, but also, you know, hopefully I could give some people some more experience of working with me as well. Because the way that like Bill and I, for example, referee are very, very different. Like, he's taught the PAPW way of you need to slide in and be fully flush with the mat so you can see it. And for a while I was doing it that way. But then when I realized that it's quicker to get to the knees, I felt like for me, the importance is mostly getting to that pin as fast as possible, but also still positioning yourself well. So like a lot of the times I drop to the knees or slide. But Bill, like, he always stays flush to the canvas, and you know, and he gives himself like that moment to make sure that his positioning is correct. Miguel like whacks the shit out of that canvas because like he's such a huge dude, and his vocalization is very different as well. Like, his counting is a little bit different than the way that we do it. Chris Levin, who's been doing things on Impact, his pinfall counts are very, very consistent. And sometimes it's like not even like when you get feedback from people, it's not so much the speed of the counts, but just staying consistent with it. That's important.
Right.
Because like for those, you know, like my favorite thing ever that I love is a good near kick out where like they get me and like I'm going for that too, and I have to swipe like last second. And because it's like, oh, that's the best because when I feel it, then I feel like the crowd also feels it. And, you know, like, and it's just like, instead of like going, you know, like to really like and Ashley Vox did that, like, oh man, that Limitless show where I think she got like legit like kicked in the face. I thought she was gonna be down, and she kicked out like so like close, and that kick out, I was like, oh my god, it was so good. That's the best.
That must get your adrenaline up in the heat of the moment, because you're like, I'm coming down for 2. Wait a minute, this is 3. No, it's 2. And
yeah, it's really, oh man, it's great. If you want to see like really good kickouts, watch the Chris Statlander versus TJ Crawford match that I refed. Unfortunately, my counts were not as consistent, and I did notice that. Again, this kind of circles back to what we talked about, and that's like one of the improvements that I have to make, is making this consistent. But like, she did the 450 splash on him, and you think like that's it, but it's not. Like, those guys like really kill themselves. It'll be interesting for you to actually ask about that when he's on the show next, because you know, and for Bear Boulder too. Like, I only did like a couple of his matches, but he, you know, he has like those moments in there as well where like it gets like a genuine reaction out of me. Like the Holiday match that he had. That was actually the first main event that I did, was him versus Holiday. And Holiday requested me for that match because he wanted me to make them look really big. And I'm like, oh god, you know, whatever. So like, yeah, but I actually end up working with him like a lot, and he actually is like one of those people who helped produce me. Because like the way that Holiday kind of explains things to me is very clear. And at first, like, my near 2 counts were like horrible, because I would like kind of hesitate because I wasn't sure if that was going to be it or not, and you could see that. And he said, just swing through, it's fine. Because like, even if you, and AG would say this too, because even if you touch the mat, it doesn't matter because it's your call. And if you say it's 2 and you kind of like, because Rick Knox on AEW does this, where he will like make contact with the mat on 3 for those like really close kickouts, but he's like, no, it's 2. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because like, that's what you say. You didn't call for the bell. That's it. So.
And it messes with our head just a little bit to be more invested in that match, because then we're like, son of a bitch, that was 3.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I was told, like, at least for people who are more like auditorial, don't at least try to make noise with it, unless if like, you know, but at times, like, you know, so like there's times where like I know Rich Bass would like do the slide or whatever whenever he's like reffing at Chaotic. He's another good referee. And I think it's really cool for us to even get like Tony Stevens to come down for doing these like TOS shows, because he always brings in like a good amount of things. He's very vocal. Here's a funny story about him. So I asked him, I was like watching a match that he had, but I think it was like Alicia Edwards and Tasha Steelz, or Skylar and Tasha. It was a Tasha Steelz match. And he was like standing there straddled. I was thinking like, oh, like, you know, like, is he doing that because like before I used to have a problem with not getting out of the way as fast, but now that I'm in there a lot, I know where people are going. Mm-hmm. I know when Sammy's going to back me up in the corner and like, you know, and does that thing. It's like so obnoxious, but it's funny. So whatever. So I said to Tony, I'm like, oh, so is that why you straddle? Is just so like you could, you know, get ready to, you know, dash to one side. He goes, oh no, that's just because I'm really tall. Don't do that. So, but I do it now because the big thing with me was having this happy feet problem, where you kind of see me like skitter because I'm not sure where to go. And that came from years of playing volleyball, because in the position that I used to play, they would encourage you to walk in a circle because it resets your form and it makes you react to things faster. But like people are like, don't do that because it's like, you know, distracting. But, you know, over the years I gotten better with it. And now I do straddle because it helps me like relax. And even like having just the confidence to just be like, this is actually my ring and not yours. So, you know,
I love, because again, Ref Gina, she's not very tall in stature. I'm going to go back to Richard Holiday because, hey, this is my ring. There's one picture that's one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
You're on your tippy toes in those blue shoes, and you are giving him absolute shit. And it's such a fantastic picture. What happened in that picture?
So this was a match that we had with Brian Pillman. This is at GoPro. Oh, man, I want them to do another show because I had so much fun there.
That was a good one.
The funny thing was, like, when we actually got in the ring, Holiday came out first and he did a cut of promo. And Mark Adam Haggerty, who's announcing, goes, "Aw, it's like a family reunion." And then Pillman comes out and he goes, "With Brian Pillman Jr." It was just like a funny like little thing. So the thing that happened in that match was Holiday backed up Pillman into a corner. That's actually on YouTube if you do want to see it. And he is just not getting the hell out of there. And just to like be very candid with you, he pisses me off so much. Like, but I feel like he does that a lot to get like a genuine thing out of me, because he does things that's just like so like you know, like you have to like yell at him to get him to do things. But you know, what happened in that match was like he got into the corner and I had to yank him off. And you know, I just like started yelling at him like a lot because I was getting so pissed off with him in that match, because he kept powdering out and like not listening to me when I'm telling him to get back inside and whatever. And like I was getting like so pent up. Plus he also drank my tea earlier that day, so I was angry about that. I got like tea at this nice little tea house, and he goes, "What you got?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a nice tea. Like, do you want to smell like what?" He goes, "Yeah," and he just takes a sip out of it. I'm like, "I didn't say that you could have the tea." So I was mad about the tea. I was mad about that, like, you know, him powdering out. So I started like screaming at him and stuff, and that got a huge like pop in the crowd. But the problem is, like, when you watch the footage, you can't really hear it so much. You know, and that's just like an audio thing. Like it happens. Like people adapt over time with like how to adjust that stuff. Like even the post production, like I have to give it to GoPro, because holy crap, like they have it down to a science with like the roaming cameras and everything. We did a Falls Count Anywhere tag match. Whoa. And it was like insane because and actually you could ask Bear Boulder about that, because he was in that match. And you have to have like cameras in both places, because a pin could happen like anywhere. We had 3 referees on the outside. I counted a pin on the outside. Like people were getting thrown into like things. It was like crazy. They had like rubber chickens at one point. I don't know what that was all about, but like it, you know, and that was Bear Country against Sent to Slaughter, which was Sean Donovan and Moff. So, you know, like all those huge dudes in there, like doing that match was like crazy. It was fun to do because, you know, I didn't have to go in and worry about anything, but like getting out of the way was terrifying. There's a great clip of me of like following, I think it was Bear Boulder, or it could have been Bronson, who had Moff and threw him into, because I think it's like a hockey rink there or something, so they have the sides. He throws them into the sides, and I go like, and just like dash out of there, because I was like so terrified that I was gonna get like crushed by Teddy Muff. Like it was just gonna be Moff, man. So yeah, that was what that story was with the GoPro. That was a good show. I wish we could do it again. I know that Bill talked at length about how much he liked it. And that was a good match for me, because it was like an MLW match. I mean, you had MLW stars who were on there. That was the first time that I was working with Pillman. And then, like, every other show that I've been on, I had his match, except TOS. Kind of wish I had it with the K1 Classic. That was a great triple threat. I appreciate you filming that, because we ended up having to use that footage for the show. But, yeah. It's fun because like I get to just work with like all these people who I never thought, like Orange Cassidy, even at Beyond. It's like fun to interact with him. You know, I have yet to do a match with Quackenbush, so I'm excited to see when that will happen in the future. But you know, even like being with like those Shikara people too, because like I used to watch these characters, and to now like think that I'm gonna be in King of Trios is like so crazy, blows my mind.
Very surreal moments in your very young career, I gotta say, Ref Gina, you're in demand, people, and I feel, because like we touched upon before, female referees are probably a little bit more in demand because it's just different. Like you were saying, it just mixes it up a little bit, but there's not many in our area. So to see a professional female referee in our area that does a fantastic job, I don't see why you should be surprised at all when more promotions don't keep knocking at your door, because I'm telling you, it's going to keep happening, because
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fun time. Yeah. The thing is, like with the gender stuff is like, At times, like, I just don't like having one because it's just like, like I don't really see, like, biologically I'm a female. I don't really see any other differences between like any other person. But at the same time, I think being a female official does enhance a story and give it something different. Like, DL Hurst and I have like this weird thing going on at the Moose Lodge shows at Blitzkrieg because like I did a match where I was gonna throw Nick Stapp out, and I turned around and accidentally hit DL in the face. Wasn't my? He shouldn't have been standing there. I don't know. And then he, hits. Oh no, you got to put that title back up. Okay. Yeah, basically that's what happened to me. Like I was in a corner against his match against Pinky Sanchez. He kept bringing in tables, and I'm like, get this shit out of my ring. And then I get like, next thing I know, I get like clocked into the corner. And great. So like, but I feel like also in some perspectives for people being like that female, I guess like representative like in these stories, like the stuff with Dan is a big part of it. Because like now, like after what happened at Lone Survivor 2, what's going to happen with like all these like female talent who he has like gotten after. I can't believe that like she didn't win. That was like so crazy to me. I'm like, we're still stuck with this guy.
you are telling me, a very avid fan of Test of Strength, you're telling me that she should have won because boys and girls, there was chaos amongst the whole thing that was going on. And I am definitely working on that one because Lone Survivor 2 was historical. Evie De La Rosa, Dan the Man, champion, no disqualification for the Test of Strength championship. Mm-hmm. Dan the Man brings out 2 handmaids, which he likes to degrade women. I had no clue who the hell they were. My chair is right there. The match is going on. I looked at Laura C. and my dad, and I go, I'm going to cut a Kincaid foul on the handmaids. I don't know who the hell it is, but I don't care. I go running over real quick. I'm on the ground. I'm actually looking up at both of the handmaids, and I say, as I'm filming the match, Dr. Kincaid, Senator Ricky Kincaid fouls. The handmaids are, what the hell are you doing? I didn't get nothing. And I don't know if you guys were laughing under there because it ended up being the big reveal. It was Ref Gina and Joanna Robinson, and it's been eating me alive. Did you guys laugh under there when I was doing a Kincaid?
No, I was actually, oh God, please not. But luckily I had that scarf around me. I think like someone thought I was like Ichiban or something, or like a dude under there, which is whatever. I don't care. I'm like, all right, that's cool. Like, but I was thinking like, so when we disguised ourselves, I was thinking to myself like, people got to know it's me, but like I actually asked like fans, and they, at least I thought, like sincerely said, we didn't know who it was. Like we thought it could have been like new wrestlers or something coming in. And yeah, so I'm glad that I was able to actually get people surprised. I don't even know where that costume is, to be honest. Like it's gone somewhere. Like I found like the hood. It got brought back, I guess, to the dojo, but I don't even know like where the rest of it's gone. But yeah, that thing was like really cool because I think the interesting thing about Test of Strength with me, and a lot of people like prefer referees just be that role, but they prefer me to be part of the story. Now, what the payoff is going to be with this, I have no idea, because like I really thought that she was going to win. He retains, and then we get like another year maybe of this guy, and but there's other women who he's done like crappy things to as well, and who knows like what's going to happen with it. So I just couldn't believe like that she didn't win.
I know.
Like, like
referee though, they say referees aren't, they are a very intricate part of the match, but referees aren't supposed to be really part of the whole thing going on to take away from the match. In my eyes, I think a referee absolutely adds a very vital element to when there's a little John going on or a little thing. I feel I am more part of all of that going on. That's my eyes. But my point being is, this has been a whole thing going on between you, Dan the Man. You gave him a running knee, which was the most amazing shit ever. Now that leads us to Lone Survivor 2. You Joanna Robinson gave him the old, and you gave him a little cutter or something going on over there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like being interjected more than a referee and doing these cool little spots?
Well, I mean, for that stuff for sure, because like for the most part, whenever I'm doing matches where I'm part of a story like that, I'm usually the one taking the bump. Dan's like hit me a whole bunch of times. Like what that the match that we had with Total Loco, where he like, and he actually like made like contact with me with that forearm. And you know, it was like a, you know, but I also gave him a stunner at Fenway. That's not like a TOS thing, but it was him against Jiggy. Jiggy gave him a super kick, and then I brought it into a stunner. So I guess it's like 3 that's up on him. And it's really crazy to think that I would be in this situation with him, because when I was going to like CTWE shows back before that got sold over to NEW at the Bethany Hall, Town Hall, I would watch Dan the Man, and he would, the first time I've ever seen him was at a Christmas show or like some sort of holiday show, and he came out with the Dandy Claus thing. He gave me a present, and it was a face cloth that said "Cheer for me" on it. Like he wrote it in like purple marker or something. I probably still have it somewhere.
I have a box,
but like
I have a Triscuit box, and it had twine in it. I still got it.
The biggest asshole thing that he's done with that was he gave like a kid like an empty like PS4 box or something. Like that was like unbelievable. I was like, oh my god! Like when I saw that, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. But I just to get back to that point though, like I watched him be like this crazy, you know, villain for a long time. I've seen like the whole Team Shazam thing. Seeing Andy Bivens come back in at the end of that Lone Survivor 2 thing was kind of interesting. I didn't expect that to happen. Mm-hmm. When he was doing feuds with like Bobby Ocean there, and that was when Bobby Ocean was still wearing tights. Like, you know, he used to wear tights. And then like I guess like everyone was like, dude, you got to like go to the trunks because, you know. But yeah, he used to wear tights. You know, it's funny to me because like when I'm in wrestling now, I see like a lot, like the average age of like the talent is like 25 or so, and they weren't really around to watch like the independent stuff the way that I did. So I think also being around in that way and getting to know people like AG when he was a ref, I still have this very, very vivid memory of me at CTWE walking towards the bathroom, and I see him in the hallway, and he had like the curly like hair, it was like long, so it's like kind of fro-ish, and he's standing there and like smiling at me like this, and I just remember that like so well. And to see like these people grow and for them to give me a chance and even like want me to be in their matches is like so cool. And there's still a list of people who I want to work with, like Vern Vicalo. That was really cool that you had him on the show. He's another good guy. We did a tryout match once, but I've never done like a live match with him before, and I really want to because working with him, especially like when you're in the ring with these people and you're doing these matches, it's like you understand different things about them. Like we all seen Ty Shine's like whole moveset. The way that he chops people I thought was like hard, but when I started refereeing his matches, it's like unnecessarily brutal. Like he had this match with Nutrius X where like he had this huge, it was like he took his hand in paint and just like pressed it against his chest, and I'm like, Ty, what the hell? He's just like, he has a son, like for Christ's sakes, like, you know, like this poor guy. But you know, and you see like things like, you know, getting used to Sammy, you know, now that he's like with the firm. Before I used to see him when he was like this baby face guy where like his, you know, tights didn't really fit, so he had to keep like tying them all the time or whatever. And you know, it's but again, like, you know, watching like people like Brian Fury a lot, you know, I saw like so many of his matches. Mark Sherman, who's not around anymore, and Brian Fury now like going to a new role. He was actually going to be on the Wrestle Crate show, and I was so pissed because I was like, oh, that would have been the best if I did that match, because like I watched all his stuff, and to like do those is like interesting. But a lot of those people, like, you know, also like aren't around anymore, and it's a testimony to how fast things go. You
It does.
know, but like then I also got to do like a match with Los Ice Creams over at like Shikara, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad that that's like still a team because Los Ice Creams was like my favorite thing ever. And you know, like now, like Jeremy Leary, you know, he's a guy, another example who has kind of taken a step back. I think he'll get back into wrestling again. But to you know, watch him for a bit, like when he was like the Dirt Dog or something. He did stuff at like NEFW, and he was like a
Yeah.
champion there, and now he's like running his own thing.
Hmm.
It's really surreal. So that was like a long-winded thing about that, but
No.
you know, I just wanted to emphasize that it is actually like amazing how things change within like 2 years. Like for Beyond to even do like the weekly shows, like I didn't even think that was even possible like 4 years ago when I was standing at that looking up from like the balcony, you know, watching like Kimberly kick the crap out of like David Starr and you know, and Mike Bennett, Biff, who was on those shows, they all have like gone on to be huge successes. Some people moved on to other things, and you know, it's cool to like kind of like come into that, like knowing that history. And
Yeah.
I hope that you know a lot of newer people at least like kind of like ask questions about that because it is like interesting stuff.
Well, that's a testament going from fan and to being part of the world that you used to watch from the other side. And not all wrestlers, not all referees and managers and such have had that. It's got to be a very, very like in the mind, in the soul, in the heart to be able to be all part of that. Being a fan, getting across that barrier, getting training, putting on the uniform, calling some of the biggest names right now in our industry. You are like a fresh wrestling fan that's a kid that is living in it though. That's the difference between.
Yeah, it is really cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
It gets jarring at times too because like the people who you probably didn't appreciate as a fan wrestling wise, you begin to appreciate too. And then like at the same time, like I know I don't need to like possibly end it on a bad note, but to watch people grow like AG, and I admire him a lot. Like I'd say if there's like any person who I don't really think that I'm the person who has like idols or heroes or anything, but I do look up to him a lot because he was someone who took every role in wrestling seriously and made it possible. And he believes in me like so much to the point where like the day when he found out that I was doing a segment for Locker Room Detectives, and I'm trying to do the best I can to film stuff on my off time now to be part of the show more. Where we were filming things at 01, and then you know Chris came up to me. He goes like, "So we got to do this thing where you're going to basically holding collateral on for information, but we have to like deal something out with you. So what do you want as a return?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Like I guess like rep the main event." And he goes like, "Okay." And I guess like he told AG, he's like, "Okay, Gina's gonna rep the main. That's going to be reserved for her because it's going to be part of the story." And he messaged me saying like, "That's cool." And that was it. Like he had like no follow up to it. I was thinking like, oh, is he going to like shit on me because of like, you know, but it's cool to like see people believe in me like that, especially Slick because like I didn't know like where, like he saw potential in me somehow. I don't know. Like if you ask him the story, he always tells people I recruited her. Not like I invited her, like I recruited her because I saw something in her, and I still don't know what it is, but I guess that's what the journey.
Hey,
That's part of the journey. So I don't know like where it was as a fan or whatever getting into. Maybe I just understood things in a different way, but it is cool. Like you know, you see people who you know also are excited to see you as well. Like you know, I mentioned Nicholas K. Like he said like, oh, that's neat that you found something that worked. You know, I was a fan and friend of Perry Von Vicious for a while, and he was who also, he you know, like after he saw the Please Come Back show, that was the Beyond show, he messaged me saying, "I'm very proud of you." And, you know, I get like people saying that to me, which is like such a cool thing because, you know, I didn't really think that, because when I first started refereeing, I didn't think I was going to get this far. I was thinking like, oh, you know, maybe I could like work like 2 shows like a month or something. It's funny now because in hindsight, it's like the complete opposite has happened. But I guess it really is a testimony that if you do pay attention and you do the best that you can, even if like you're not like great at first, there's going to be a time where things click. But if you try, there is a return somewhere. You just have to do it.
That's a fantastic message for the men and women that want to get into it. And it doesn't matter if it's a referee or what have you. That advice, that works all around for anyone who wants to get in wrestling. So that's not just from referee Gina to a guy or girl who wants to be a referee. That's for anybody in wrestling. Great advice, Ref Gina.
Yeah.
And I know we've been running a little bit longer. This is my
cool.
I think I have maybe 8 or 10% of my phone left.
That's all right. It's cool.
Before my phone takes a shitter, I have to touch upon a relationship. And I've been waiting to sit with Ref Gina since my very first Stirring the Pot last year, because I've wanted to call it one thing and one thing only: triglycerides. It's been eating me. I've been chomping at the bit to call Ref Gina's triglycerides so bad. It is my most famous promo. It's with Ty Shine.
It's a good promo. I suggested it to him. Man, we had like a series when they were going to be, for those who don't know, like, what was their team name? The Bello Twins. Yeah, so they do look similar. And if you ever get Ty on for one of these, you got to ask him the story about how they found each other, because it's like absolutely, it's charming, but also a little bit stupid, but that adds like charmingness to it. So like we had like a bunch of like a series of things to like do for promos, like, you know, the conversation was going to be one of them. Another one was going to be like, I was going to cook him something and it tastes horrible. So he like tags in Omar, and Omar is going to be like the guy who basically just like continuously has like, getting like the short end of the stick on those. But yeah, that promo is still up there if people want to see it. We filmed it before Battlefront. I came in a Chewbacca costume, I believe, that day because I think like another booking of mine got canceled, and I was going to ref in a Chewbacca costume. Yeah, I actually was able to do it. I was able to ref in a Chewbacca costume. The Halloween show for 01, it was for a Rumble, and I stayed on the outside. It was supposed to be like a Halloween Rumble. I said, AG, can I please wear this costume, because like I got it? And he goes, sure. And then Kevin Quinn was the blind referee. So if you ever get him on, ask him about that, because that's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's great.
If you want to know about the triglycerides thing, that's what that promo is. And
that whole thing, and I guess I'm biased because it was a Kincaid kind of promo. Man, I can watch that thing.
It is very funny.
And it's hilarious every single time.
Yeah. A lot of people have told me that they really liked it. Like people who were just like friends of mine. A lot of people also like the marriage counseling thing that I had with Maxine Marzaroff. That was pretty.
I had Maxim on. I don't know.
Maxim, sorry.
No, and we talked about that. How you were his wife for a little bit. And I mean, it was amazing.
No, that was a complete like thing, because like I wore a hat or something, and then like I did the Russian dance, and then he goes, "You're a wife now. This is now a marriage ceremony in Russia." And then like we just went with it. Like he kept calling me wife instead of ref in a match, and he distracted me once, and he goes, "Oh, I'm so hurt. I'm hurt so bad." And I'm like, "Where are you hurt?" And he goes, "In my heart." He loved me, and I didn't know what to do. Like he got me really hard on that. I was laughing. I was like,
that was
too smart for me. He's too smart for me. But, yeah.
That was at a Friday Night Alley fight. I remember.
Yeah.
You get involved in all of these things, man.
It's all by accident. Blue Shoes was an accident. The marriage thing was an accident. TJ being my cousin, that's not an accident, but we discovered that like after we started training together, and that like blew your mind somehow. But I don't want to take up too much of your time. Thanks for having me on here, and I'm really looking forward to I do watch these interviews very earnestly, because especially now it's a great time to just like get to know people differently. So I'm looking forward to. I won't spoil it too much about like who you're having up in the following schedules, because I know we've been talking about it. But
all right, that's okay.
I'm really looking forward to the people who I don't work with so much. Like the TOS guys, I do watch and I enjoy them, but I see them all the time. You know, we talk constantly. I want to know more about like these other people who I don't get to work with as much, and it's a very interesting journey.
And I can't even give you enough of that love, because I love hearing that, because I don't know who I'm doing this for. I know it's for you guys, but who's watching it? I don't know. So Ref Gina's watching my stuff. That's amazing.
Yeah, of course.
Ref Gina, your insight to being a referee is going to surpass, it surpassed everything that Ref Bill or El Ref even told me. And we had a hell of a time. I love me some both of them, but man, your insight to the fans was absolutely amazing. And I can't thank you enough for spending the time with us on Stirring the Pot.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, the way we end this is this is
Blue shoes
with Blue Shoes, and my very special guest, Blue Shoes, Gina,
and also Ty Shine in association. Remember, it's a one-of-a-kind shirt. You can't get this anywhere else. So sorry.
No, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Ref Gina.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.